Hi everyone. So I'm not seeing any new pinephone Pro reviews tonight. I feel like everyone's afraid to post their videos because they don't want me to review their review. Apparently they don't like criticism. Well, I actually, in looking for that, I found one that doesn't seem too bad, so let's give it a try, shall we? Pinephone review and why we need this phone. That's the name of the video.
Hello again everyone, and welcome back to Learn Linux TV. In today's video, I am finally giving you guys a review of the pinephone. It's been a long time coming, but today's the day. It's happening right now.
June 11th, 21.
Right here, I have the pinephone in the studio, and this is the beta edition of the pinephone, something that was just dropped off at the studio this week, so I can't wait to check this out.
I thought they were all beta.
Before I get into
There's
the review,
no production
I want to
phone.
mention the sponsor for today's video, VoIP.ms. VoIP.ms is the most feature-rich VoIP provider on the market, available across North America. When it comes to pricing, it's simple. To learn more about VoIP.ms, check out the URL that's on the screen right now or the link that's in the description. And if you sign up using that link, you'll be able to start making calls in 5 minutes. And thank you so much to VoIP.ms for their sponsorship of this video. I really appreciate it. Definitely check them out. Now, let's get into the pinephone. When it comes to specs, the specs of the pinephone aren't really all that amazing, to be honest. It has decent specs for its price point of around $250 US, and when I ordered mine, it was on sale for $150 US, so for that price, I think the specs are, well, fine. It has an IPS display with a resolution of 1440 by 720, 16 gigabytes of eMMC storage, 2 gigabytes of RAM, and a 64-bit quad-core 1.2 GHz ARM Cortex-A53 CPU. So it's not really all that powerful, but the specs aren't the worst either. And for $150, it's probably good enough for basic use cases. However, there's some rough edges with this phone, more on that later. And as you can tell from the intro, I've already unboxed it, and the package...
Rough edges, that means a lot of stuff sucks.
Packaging is about as simple as it gets. And this is the box right here. Inside the box, of course, is the pinephone itself, as well as a red USB-C cable.
I'm going to skip ahead of this.
The box, I also inserted an SD card flashed with Manjaro ARM, specifically the Plasma Mobile Edition. The hardware is basic, but decent. The build quality is fine. It's about what you'd expect at this price point. It's a completely plastic chassis, but it gets the job done. On the side, there's a volume control and a power button. On the bottom, we have a USB-C port, and on the top, there's a headphone jack. The screen quality, in my opinion, is good, but it's not the best screen I've ever seen, but it's definitely not the worst either. It's more than adequate. When it comes to the default distribution on the latest pinephone, I was expecting Manjaro ARM to be the pre-installed distribution. After all, it was recently chosen as the standard for the pinephone. But what I saw instead was a boot screen that had multiple phone distributions on the list. And what's even more strange is that Manjaro ARM wasn't even on the list. And the first item on the list didn't even boot at all. It launches to a TTY login, and I let it run for a while, and well, nothing happened. And that's the reason why I went ahead and flashed Manjaro ARM, the Plasma Mobile Edition, onto an SD card, because I wanted to try that out. I figured that since Manjaro ARM was classified as the default distribution, the standard for the pinephone, that I would probably have the best experience if I was to use that. Okay, so let's rewind a little bit. I mentioned earlier that I had a previous model of the pinephone, and this is my second. I received this yesterday. So why am I reviewing this pinephone when I haven't even reviewed the original yet? Well, the reason why is because that review, honestly, was an epic failure. You guys never got to see it because it was just bad. Honestly, like, I had all kinds of problems with the pinephone. It was to the point where nothing worked. And I was actually surprised.
Oh my God, he doesn't drink the Kool-Aid!
Use something that is basically completely broken. So I put that phone on the shelf and I updated it every now and then to see if maybe it got further along. Maybe some of those bugs were worked out. So I updated it every few weeks and unfortunately...
Nothing changed.
I mean, some bugs were fixed, yes, but it's still just as rough today as it was before. So I wanted to try the latest pinephone.
But the latest pinephone's still the same piece of crap.
Experience is today, and try to do this review again. Now, before we continue, it's important to keep in mind that the pinephone is for early adopters and Linux enthusiasts. It even mentions on the box that it's a beta product, and on the website, it's very clear on what the intended audience actually is. So with that in mind, I decided to approach this review from a different angle.
That's very disingenuous, based on the webpage that I pointed out that says something totally different than that.
And straight away, what I'm going to tell you guys is that if you are looking for a Linux phone that is a competitor to iOS or Android, well, honestly, look elsewhere. This is not that. The pinephone experience, in my opinion, is very rough, and when they say beta, they really mean beta.
No, it's not even beta yet. It
Should
have been released at all. It doesn't work.
I hope that day does come. How cool would that be? But it's not quite time for the year of the Linux phone just yet. There's some rough edges that really need to be
How much did they pay this guy
we can even get to that point.
Smooth the edges?
If you take a look around the community, it's quite clear that very passionate people are involved with the mobile Linux concept and are working very hard to try to make it a reality. There's a lot of work being done on various distributions for the pinephone, and it's just amazing to watch the
Okay, now he's starting to drink the Kool-Aid.
distributions from their inception all the way to their current state. It kind of reminds me of when I first started with Linux, and none of the distributions available at that time were fully desktop ready. But I thought it was fun to check out various distributions and see what they have to offer. And here, with the pinephone, we have that process starting again. And that's because there's multiple distributions available, and they're listed in the official wiki. You can go to that wiki and read about the various distributions that are available and make a choice as far as which one you'd like to try out. But with every mobile Linux distro that I've tried, it seems to be more of a question of what works than what doesn't work. For example, I haven't been able to use MMS on any of the distros that I've tried.
Ooh.
When it comes to Plasma Mobile, attaching an external display via a USB-C dock freezes the entire session instantly, and a reboot of the phone is the only way to gain control. Many applications simply won't launch. There's no error messages, they just kind of hang. And screen recording apps are all incompatible. None of them work for me, which is also why you're not seeing a screen recording in this video like I normally do. In fact, anything beyond simple phone calls is a gamble. So this is absolutely not a phone you would want to buy if you want to be productive. So I'm having a ton of problems. And I bet at this point, you are probably thinking that I'm going to bash the pinephone, tell you to stay away from it,
You should.
and pretend that it doesn't exist.
That would be the right thing to do.
But when I mentioned earlier that I wanted to approach this review from a different angle, specifically, I want to call attention to the development effort that is actually going on right now with the pinephone and the excitement behind that platform and why you might want to get involved. And what I think the pinephone represents is a fun way to get involved and contribute to the projects that are surrounding this platform, especially when it comes to the various distributions that are available. If there's a feature that you want to use and that feature doesn't work, then perhaps you'll consider looking at the code and maybe try to fix it. Or if you're not good at writing code, you can volunteer to test things. I'm sure the developers would really appreciate that. You can also volunteer to write documentation, and if nothing else, you can pick your favorite project and watch that project grow and follow along with its development process. And that, to me, sounds exciting. And another reason why I wanted to check out the pinephone was due to the convergence package. When I purchased my original model 7 months ago, it came with a USB-C dock. The idea was that you could dock your phone to a monitor, a keyboard,
Yeah,
a mouse,
well,
and then use your phone as a desktop.
we're a little past
and
two-thirds
this
of
idea
this
is not
video.
new. Canonical
I'm gonna stop it because he's not gonna be honest anymore because he doesn't want to have to say what needs to be said here. The pinephone is a piece of crap. The people working hard on developing it are not working hard on the important things. They're working on their fun toys, and it's not, that doesn't make the phone work, and it's not good enough for anyone. So anyway, I'm still searching for some pinephone Pro reviews to offer criticism of what you say. Come on, guys, let's post them. And remember, you're never going to get rid of me until I get my money back and an apology.